I'm reviewing In a Violent Nature. In a Violent Nature is a new experimental slasher film from IFC and Shudder. It is in theaters right now, and I'm assuming at some point it will be on Shudder, but exclusively in theaters for now. It is written and directed by Chris Nash. It stars Rye Barrett, Andrea Pavlovic, and Cameron Love. I'm gonna keep this review as spoiler-free as possible, so I won't ruin the film for you if you choose to see it. But I will say, if you read the synopsis of this film, it's pretty much everything. I mean, it's a slasher film. Slasher films are hard to spoil other than explaining the kills. And of course, I'm not gonna do that. I'll just talk about how great they are. Or if they're not great. In a Violent Nature is about a group of people who go out into the wilderness to camp, of course, as every horror film starts. They find a collapsed fire tower and a pendant or necklace, and of course they take it because, you know, it's just sitting there. Doesn't make any sense as to why someone wouldn't take it. But upon taking that, they awaken the spirit of Johnny. But it's really like, he is in corporeal form, but it's like, whatever. I'm sure you've probably heard of this film because it has had a lot of buzz and a lot of talk because it follows a slasher film from the perspective of the actual slasher. I mean, other films have done this, like one of my very favorites, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, did something similar, but they did that as a mockumentary and it was funny and it was really cute. So I love that film. If you have not seen that film, you really need to see that film. But this film literally puts you third person view as the killer. It's not first person, which I think is interesting that they didn't utilize any first person views. They did third person. Now, I will say, don't get me wrong, it is not with the killer the entire film. There are moments here and there where you're not with him. So, but 90% of the film, roughly 85%, whatever, is with the killer. You're with him. So because of that, it has had a lot of intrigue surrounding it. Like, oh wow, ooh, are we gonna get into the mind of a killer? And I've gotta say, in a way, yeah, we kind of do. Even though this killer does not talk, you can see his thought process. You can see how he works through things in his brain. And I have to say that that is one aspect of this film that I think is very cool. The director has said that he took inspiration from Friday the 13th and The Burning and My Bloody Valentine, and I think that that is obvious here. And it is in fact shot in a 4:3 ratio, giving it an older feel to the film. The design of the killer is very cool. I've heard people say different things about the way that the killer looks. Personally, I find the killer really awesome looking. I love the way he looks with the mask and without the mask. I was happy that we actually got to see him without the mask too. The mask is based on the Vajan Bader smoke mask that they wore in like the 1800s, the respirator mask for firefighters, and it looks very cool. And I think it's very unique, and it ties into the story as well. So it's not even all that crazy that he wears this mask. I reviewed this film with Gruesome a few days ago, and I had literally just watched it and reviewed it. And after we got done reviewing it, I knew that I needed to watch it again. This film felt a little bit like a roller coaster to me. I kind of felt like it was like two movies. On the one hand, we have the most awesome and amazing gore. It's superb, stellar gore, like top notch, beautiful gore. And I am a huge Gore fan. So for me, I'm like, well, this is divine. This is a wonderful, beautiful thing I'm watching here. And on the other hand, we do have a lot of walking. Like you see in the trailer, and there's a lot of walking. In addition to using a completely different viewpoint for the entire film, or for the majority of the film, they also decided to go without a musical score. And that's wild to me. There's music, don't get me wrong, at little points, but for the most part, the sounds that you hear are ambient sounds and nature sounds. You are in the woods with this dude. All you pretty much hear is nature. We're not used to seeing a film like this. We're not used to not having, the musical pads underneath it. I like to run things wet around here, okay? That's what we said in the church world. When I service directed, yeah, I know, right? That's crazy, right? What, Crystal? Service directed at a church? I sure did. Yeah, I loved it. It was fun. But I like to run it wet so that you always have kind of like something telling you how to feel. But that's not the case in this film. You decide and determine how you're gonna feel. And I think that's very interesting. I think I had a hard time with it the first time I watched it because I didn't know how I felt about it. I knew I really liked the gore. I knew I liked the way the killer looked. I knew I liked the gore. I knew I liked the kills. I knew I liked a lot of aspects of it, but I didn't know how I felt about the other aspects. At times I was like, ugh, Jesus, is this ever gonna be over? What? Come on. But I will say, I do think that the gore is definitely worth it for at least one watch. If you like gore, I think you will enjoy this. I think you'll really like this. And of course, everyone has talked about the kill, because this film will be known forevermore for the yoga kill, because it's obvious. I mean, and I don't even need to call it the yoga kill. You're gonna know exactly what kill it is when it comes up because it's awesome. Like, it's super awesome. And when you think it's done, it's not done. Because you're like, oh yeah, oh, okay, well, that's fun. The kills are slower. Like in a Friday the 13th film, the kills happen quick and fast. I think that, is to cover up maybe some of the practical effects aren't the best or what. No, the effects are so good here. I think that they really showcased them, and they showed a lot of them, and I was very thankful for that. Now, let me be very clear. This is not Terrifier levels of gore, okay? No. Terrifier is far more gory. I love Terrifier, okay? Don't judge me. I love gore. I love Terrifier. I love Terrifier 2 even more. It's crazy, I know. This is not that gory, but it is very, very gory, especially when you take into account how slow the film is. The cinematography of this film is gorgeous. It's beautiful. A lot of rack focus, a lot of moving shots. It's done very, very well. It all makes sense. It all progresses the story forward. Some of it's very unique. Some of it is things that are kind of homages to other things. This was shot in Canada, I believe, and the location is just mind-blowingly gorgeous. I mean, Canada is beautiful. Most of the acting was fine. It was well done. Some of it was very good, but it was all passable. What about the story? Well, guess what? There actually is a story to this, if you can believe it. And we do get hints and drops and bits and pieces of it throughout the film. And it is a complete story. It makes sense. You know what happened to Johnny. You know why he's doing what he's doing. I did love, though, that you could see what he's kind of thinking through. Like there's one point where we're walking behind him as he's walking up to a farmhouse or something. Cop is driving off and you can see him kind of veer and try to go toward chasing him, and then he realizes he's in a car and he can't get him, and he's like, oh, okay, well that sucks. So he's like, well, guess I'll go over here. Guess I'll go get this dude. And I like that. I thought it was funny. So is some of the dialogue super bad? Absolutely. It's stuff that wouldn't be said, wouldn't happen. People can fight me on that, but I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about from experience. I'm just like, that would not happen. That would not happen like that. I don't care. I don't care. In a slasher, you expect some of these cliche characters. You expect some of this absurdity. What's crazy is because of the way this film is done, it feels way more serious than a typical or traditional slasher. but it's also way slower at points. It's very confusing in that regard. This is why I've had such a difficult time kind of judging it, processing it, discovering how I truly feel about it. There's far more good than I didn't like. There was just some elements that just felt so out of place. I felt a little differently about it watching it the second time around. I think I was kind of able to relax a little bit more and just enjoy the ride more. I think I was just waiting and looking for more when I watched it the first time and anticipating, when I should have just let the ride take me. And I think that's the way this film should be watched. Don't go into it expecting anything, just let the movie take you. Just let the movie take you, and I think you'll enjoy it more. The last 10 minutes of the film are just, wow, super boring. But oddly enough, it's not from the perspective of the killer. So I don't know why, but as I was watching this, in that amount of time, I started getting like nervous. But that's because we're no longer with the killer, so we don't know where the killer is. We don't know what the killer is doing. We don't know if he's gonna come out here or if he's gonna do this. You're waiting for the shoe to drop. When you're along with the killer, you know what is happening the entire time. Now that creates a different sort of tension and intensity because there's one kill that is completely telegraphed and you know what's gonna happen, and the person that it's gonna happen to knows exactly what's gonna happen, and that is very tense because you see it as it's happening and it's like, ooh, that's not good. So I do think that if you are uncomfortable with quiet, you might have a hard time with this film. Slow dips with nothing but nature sounds. So if you can't handle nature and you don't like being out in like nature, then I don't know what to tell you because it might be really hard for you. I can just walk in my backyard and I'm just in the forest practically. So I love that stuff. Is it an experimental film that pays off? In my opinion, yes. But is it because of the gore? The gore helps. If this film didn't have the gore and the cool kills, then I would know. No. But because it does have that, we're good. Overall, I would definitely recommend this film to any slasher fan for sure. Are you a slasher fan? What's your favorite slasher? And are you planning on seeing In a Violent Nature? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I really do hope that you have the most amazing day, my spooky darlings. I would like to say a very, very, very big and wonderful thank you to all of my Patreon members. You are my wonderful, amazing spooky darlings, and I love you dearly. Chris Mizictino, Jimmy Horror, Eddie, Janie McLaren, Jose Reyes, Phil Smith, Jim Kemmerling, Mickey B, and Deal Demon. You're awesome. And then that sets off a chain of events that results in a slasher. That sounds dumb. Next take, please. The one that we follow. If that wasn't obvious. I felt like I was on a roller coaster. I really did. I kind of felt like I was on a roller coaster when I was watching this.